We live at the CBC. Listen, man, they said, Shamari, you so handsome and you do so well with expediting change. We got to bring you back for another year. So I'm back at CBC. It's your boy, Shamari Kill James with Expediting Change. And listen, we have a wonderful guest here today. We're going to get into all of the wonderful things that she does, but let's get ready to rock and roll and get into it. Hey there.
Hello.
I'm so happy you're here. I literally got goosebumps. I don't think I ever got goosebumps for a guest before. Some of my other guests going to be upset about that.
That's okay.
What up with you? How you?
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Shayna Renee Hammond. I'm the founder and CEO of Lead for Liberation, as well as Indigo Unbound. I do executive leadership coaching. I run several companies. I'm a mom of two. And, I get into the deep stuff.
Listen. Did y'all see how she said, I do executive leadership coaching? And she pointed at me, but not pointed at me. She used her whole hand and be like, I done coached this man right here. Before we talk about my coaching and my emotional regulation, what got you into that?
Let's talk about it. So I'm a former teacher, former principal, and I've always had a heart for people. I love people. I'm always curious about what motivates people to do things, what motivates people to want to liberate themselves, what demotivates people, what keeps people back. I'm also an athlete, and so I know the road of trying to go to peak performance. And so I've always been fascinated about potential and about reaching your fullest potential.
Love it.
I was one of those kids who literally walked around saying things like, what is life about? Because this can't be it.
No.
This ain't it right here.
How good can it get?
So I'm trying to figure out what life could be, what abundance is, because I know it's my birthright. I didn't know those words, of course, back then.
Absolutely.
But I felt it in my soul.
Absolutely.
And so I've just kind of been a seeker my whole life.
So in that, would you consider yourself a creative?
I would consider myself a creative.
So talk to me as a creative doing really deep work with coaching, because when you coach, you're hearing everything that individuals are putting out. But that creative, that coaching, and then the business. How do you keep all that together?
It's a lot. I would say my superpower is probably co-creating containers with people where they feel safe enough to be vulnerable, but they also feel the fire up under them to get better. And I know how to do that very, very quickly.
And very well as well, I might say. But you said that really fast, so I want to go into that so you can define it.
Sure.
What does that mean, creating a container?
So a container is any space. Like right now, we're in a container on this podcast episode, right? A container could be a classroom. When I was a teacher, it could be a school. When I was a principal, a container is literally the energetic field that is holding two or more people together.
Love it.
And you can either be intentional about how that container feels, or you could just wing it. And we've all been in containers where leaders are winging it, and you don't have the outcome you want to have. Exactly.
So besides the obvious reasons, why is that important? Not for the container itself, but recognition to be intentional about creating a container.
It's important because whatever energy you bring to creating something, that same energy is going to show up in the thing that you create. Especially if you're a leader and you're creating for a lot of people. Maybe you're writing a book, maybe you're speaking, maybe you're leading a company, you're producing a product that millions and millions of people use. You have to be really responsible and intentional about the energy that you're bringing to that table, especially if you're the one who holds the most power.
Absolutely. So recognizing that energy. So if I'm not doing a coaching session with you, but I'm just listening today, how do I become consciously competent about that container and make it intentional?
I would say the first step is really to focus on your own energy. And one way to do that, we always have access to our breath.
Absolutely.
And so I would just, pause and just think, when was the last time I took a deep breath?
No doubt.
If you can't remember, then you probably haven't been centered in a really long time. Exactly. So, we start every coaching session with deep connected breathing.
Absolutely.
And it helps us just be present to the moment.
Absolutely.
And so presence is really important. When we're really present, we're really listening, we pick up on what's not said.
Absolutely.
And it's those leaders who can hear what's not said and act on those things that have the edge over the competition.
I love it. So you talked about your superpower, but there are a lot of skeptics when it comes to coaching, right? Because individuals say, well, I went to school or I do training, but what is this coaching piece like? So talk to me about the value add, and not just the value add from your perspective, but the value add you, your company, that you bring to someone who could use coaching?
Sure. So the coaching stance, right, is all about believing that the person you're coaching actually has the answers. So unlike teaching where
I'm sorry. Say that again, Shayna. Y'all can't miss this, man. Y'all getting free game. You don't even know it right now how much the free game costs, man. Y'all owe me on Expediting Change. Say that again. I'm sorry.
Yes, a coaching stance means you have the honest belief that the person you're coaching has the answers that they're seeking.
No doubt.
Your job as a coach is to create the environment such that the awareness comes to the surface. And so if I'm a coach, I have to be very, very present, right? I have to do my inner work necessary to make sure I show up and create that kind of container where you can have a breakthrough you've never had before.
Absolutely.
And the questions that I ask come from the fact that I'm fully present. I'm listening to what you're saying, what you're not saying. I'm picking up on your emotions. And I'm coaching you, not the problem.
Coaching you, not the problem. Because individuals will be in a space where they will confuse coaching for handicapping, coaching for doing it for them. When you coach, as you said, is how can I bring it out of you? So what do you find is your most difficult struggle? Like what makes it hard? Or access, and hopefully you won't say me.
Okay.
But like, and we don't need no names, obviously.
We won't say names.
What's a tough client?
You know, I actually, all these years, 20 plus years, I've only really had one, I would say, tough client.
Okay.
Because I usually have clients who are ready, who really want the breakthrough.
Absolutely.
And I will say, and what made this particular person difficult was they were sponsored by someone else. So it wasn't necessarily their choice, but that has worked in the past.
No doubt.
But they weren't really willing to go there. They weren't really willing to be vulnerable. And so they wanted to kind of stay surface level. And anytime I would kind of ask a question that took that person deeper,
They ran from it. Yeah.
You know, they ran from it. And so people always say, when people are like, you go get Coach Shayna, you better be ready.
Let's pull on that thread of vulnerability. That's you think you know what vulnerability means.
Right.
And you think you are ready for the levels of vulnerability until you actually get into them. And then they're layered because the more vulnerable you are and the more you uncover, the more truths come out that you have to deal with. So how do you support individuals? Because that journey can get tough. I feel you used a really good word. You said breakthrough.
Yeah.
I have my breakthrough. I'm good. I see you later, Shayna. But you're like, no, you're not ready yet. So talk about how do I get to being comfortable with the levels of vulnerability that I need to be?
Yes.
And it being cyclical.
So you said the word comfortable.
No doubt.
Right? So the first step is getting comfortable with discomfort.
Love it.
So vulnerability for a lot of people, if you're not used to being in that way, it's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so that's where my teaching background comes into. And so, you know, we end every coaching session with heart work. That's our work or homework. And so what I do is I chunk up, you know, different support strategies that will help people along the way. And I chunk it up so I don't give them, you know, everything all at once and too much at once. And we just take it step by step by step. And we're always anchored in, as you know, a set of goals. And so I'm always bringing it back to the goals so that we don't veer too far away into the little tangents and rabbit holes. And we're like, wait, let's go back to the
I like to do. That I like to do. So what gets measured makes progress. My degree is in engineering, right? So I know that I have my goals when I'm being coached, but on the other end, for you and your business, how from that hard work and you taking it from an empathetic perspective with individuals who say positive and not positive. They are and are not hitting their goals. You're going to see that right out of the gate.
You are.
And you are objective about it. But me as a client, I may have 100 million excuses. So how do you get me over that hump? I've mastered 3 out of the 5 and I'm like, got my breakthroughs, I'm good. How do you now push me because you're measuring and what gets measured makes progress?
It does. It's through effective questioning. So I might ask something like, all right, you have this breakthrough. What does this breakthrough now mean for you? And usually when I ask that, what does it mean for you? Then there's like an opening of, oh, there are things I didn't think about. There are possibilities that weren't present before I had this breakthrough. Now, in that possibility, there's likely some growth that needs to happen for you to really leverage that possibility.
Absolutely. And so at what point, though, like, the continuity of it. And I use the word cyclical.
Right.
Like, what point do I stop? What point do I reach my highest level of consciousness? And now I'm just like this, like, you know what I mean? Like,
You just float away.
like, you know what I mean? Because I might come to you as a client and say, how long is this going to take?
We are always growing and
Absolutely.
healing. I have a coach. I will have a coach until the last time I take a break.
Absolutely.
If your coach doesn't have a coach, have questions.
I said that. I literally see when you looked at my Instagram page and you said I was being arrogant. Well, I did say I'm your mentor's mentor. But the bottom part of it is be weary of those who want to coach you and they're not being coached themselves. I absolutely love that.
We're always growing. We're always learning.
So coaching is a forever ongoing process.
Ongoing.
Whether with you or somebody else, you feel it has to continue from the day you're born to the day.
It does. And you have to be really cognizant of when you've outgrown your coach. So that's happened to me several times. You know, I've outgrown spiritual teachers. I've outgrown coaches. And it's beautiful when your coach identifies it. I've had a spiritual teacher tell me, Shayna, this is our last session. We are now peers. I mean, you know, you learned everything you need to learn. I was like, no.
Like, don't leave me.
Don't leave me.
Don't leave
I'm
me.
not ready. And I'm so glad they kicked me out of the nest because they were right.
Yeah.
You know, and they had that spiritual integrity to be able to say, no, you know, I've taught you and gotten you to a place where you know, it's time for you to find your next person.
I love that spiritual integrity. So if I feel it, right, but my coach has not said it,
right?
What are the indicators that make it? Because feelings aren't facts by any stretch of the imagination. So what evidence should I use to broach that? Well, first, to say it to myself that I'm ready to have the conversation to move on, right? So what should I do? Like, what's the advice?
First, of course, check in with yourself, your intuition, and trust your intuition. If your gut says it's time to move on, it's time to move on.
Sure.
Then go back to that set of goals that you set with that particular coach.
Good point.
And then say, you know, with the coach, can we go over the goals? Can we review them and go through how you've grown? How you think you've grown? And you know what? I think it's time for me to take a beat for a little while and then, you know, continue my journey elsewhere.
Absolutely.
You know, and just in the, you know, engagement, celebrate your wins. And just bring it back to the goals. And
it could also, it could be scary, right? Because I already told you, you're never leaving me. Like, in some capacity, unless you like move. Yes, I sound like a stalker. She got to move, change her phone number. Like, I know kids and everything. So it's a big thing because when we were married, my wife and I, before we were married, actually, we did pre-counseling with, you know, so we've been in some type of therapy for a long time.
Right.
But it took us probably 10 years to realize that typical sit down talk therapy oftentimes causes more hurt than good. And I'll give you an example, which is credit to your protocols, which I want to go into next.
Okay.
We had a really, really, really tough session one time. This is 15, 20 years ago.
Okay.
We rode together. We had a tough session. The clock ended and we had to go. So now I don't want to look at this lady.
Right.
She don't want to look at me.
Right.
But we got to get in the car and go home together.
Right. Shoulder to shoulder.
That's dangerous.
Yeah.
And this is not a knock to any licensed therapist, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm only talking about my experience. And in that experience, we said, look, we were consciously competent enough, even in our anger, to say, I'm going to stay downstairs. You can stay upstairs. We can flip it around. But that shit was not cool.
Right.
Which then led us to our path of, we got to do something different.
Yeah.
So I use that as context to talk about protocols. So how do you put in protocols so shit like that don't happen? I was upset. I was like, I'll Uber. And Uber wasn't even around at the time. I'm going to walk home.
You know, I have this practice, and you've heard me say it a lot, right? At the end, when we're coming down to the end, I have a coaching flow. We follow the same exact flow every single time. Just like in teaching, students need to know what to expect.
Absolutely.
When you're in a high-stakes situation, a highly emotional situation, people need to know what to expect.
No doubt.
And so there's a certain flow that you can count on that calms your nervous system already.
Absolutely.
And then as we're coming down, I'm asking you all at the very end, before it ends, to really give to me, what are your leadership reflections based upon our conversation?
Absolutely.
So as we're coming down, you're starting to, you know, talk about next steps. You're starting to summarize.
Yep.
You're starting to, okay, oh wait, what can we do, next? And then we have the hard work.
Absolutely.
So there's something constructive for you both to do at the end, even if it doesn't feel finished with a pretty bow. And most coaching sessions and therapy sessions don't feel finished with a pretty bow. That's not necessarily an indication of success.
Absolutely.
But what is that, okay, I have something that I can work through from here into the next session.
Absolutely.
Even if it's just a journal.
No doubt.
No
doubt. So what y'all have to hear in between that message, everything Shayna just said, not only is she doing the coaching and recognizing our verbal and nonverbals, but just like a football coach, she's watching the play clock. She's watching the game clock. So she's managing not just us as a couple or an individual in the session, but she's managing the entire container. Remember, we just talked about container. So she's looking at managing, knowing, and understanding the energy of the container. Now, when I get off stage or when I get done with my 3 podcasts a day, I'm spent. Like, I'm talk.
Yeah.
Give me a bench chili dog, even though I shouldn't be eating it.
Right.
But I'm just done.
Yeah.
And I don't believe I've ever asked you this question before, ever. Like, how do you feel when you're coming out? Like, how do you come down and then how do you pour into your own cup?
Yes. I mean, there are so many containers, as you know, that I manage, not just coaching sessions, but, I lead several teams, several businesses. I'm on boards. I have children. There are a lot of different containers. And that means I need a lot of different things to bring myself down. So you may have heard me talk about this, but there's a journaling practice called Letters to Spirit that always brings me back down. So basically, I write, Dear Spirit, you can use whoever you call your higher power, and I start with gratitude. Thank you for this in my life. Thank you for helping me break through X, Y, Z. Then I just stream of consciousness. This is what's really, this is what happened today, and this is what I'm grappling with. And this is what I'm giving to you. I've done everything I can do. I need you to help me out. I need you to give me some guidance here. I drop into just a 5-minute meditation with the expectation and intention that I'm going to receive guidance from my higher self. So I go down, I come out, and then I write, Dear Shayna. And I just write.
So writing
stream of
to
consciousness.
spirit and then writing to
myself.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Okay, so do you then go back and read each? Like, because your journal has to be like.
Oh, I have journals on journals on journals on journals on journals.
So when you write a book,
I've been journaling since I was in 5th grade.
It's time for a book. Like, it's literally time for a book.
It's time for another one. My first book is out.
How did I not know you were?
Becoming an IndigoWomen. How to Thrive in Leadership and Life. It's on Amazon. And it's a bestseller.
I need the link. Look at that. I learned today on my podcast with my coach that she had a book and I didn't even know that. That is crazy.
Yeah, that means I need to write another one.
Yeah, it does. Absolutely.
It does.
So I know, and you just mentioned a couple different businesses.
Yes.
I don't want to get you in no trouble on camera.
Okay.
So if you want to change the question, that's okay.
That's okay.
But which one is your favorite?
Ooh, you make me my favorite. I have to say. I mean, it's obvious. Like when you see me light up and talk about it, it has to be Indigo Unbound.
Okay.
Not that I don't love my other businesses. I do. They all have their place.
No doubt.
I will say Indigo Unbound is my divine assignment right now.
Ooh, I love it.
Right now. Lead for Liberation was a beautiful divine assignment that I had many years ago. And I'm going to keep carrying that on. It has a purpose and it's its own entity. Indigo Unbound is not only what I'm called to do now, it's like I'm literally becoming and evolving into it as I'm building it. So it's incredibly exciting. I'm growing through it. So Indigo Unbound is a personal development as well as leadership development company where I combine leadership, spirituality, and personal growth. All the things I am very, very passionate about into one, specifically for Black people, who I love. I mean, how can you not love our business?
Absolutely love it. You literally do light up about it now when you're talking about it.
Yeah.
When we talk about it over the phone.
Oh my goodness.
On Teams, like you absolutely do.
Yeah.
And no, I was not trying to get Shayna in no trouble with any of her other companies.
I love
but
them
I just
all.
had to answer. I had to ask the question.
Yes.
Moving to how, like, I'm short of saying, look, you ain't got to convince nobody to hire you as a coach. In my own opinion. Right. So this is not a sales pitch right now.
Right.
But if somebody wanted and was considering
Yes.
a coach,
Yes.
why Shayna?
I would say I mentioned my superpower. Whenever you come in my space, it's so crazy. And enough people have told me this, and enough people have it's experienced. You will not be the same when you leave my space. Because it's just a gift. It is a gift when I drop into my zone. I know how to listen. But not only me, God has also given me the gift of leadership. And so I have amazing team members at Indigo Unbound and my other companies who also have similar gifts and know how to do it. Right? And we're a very values aligned company. And so no matter who you see within our ecosystem, you're going to have that same transformative experience. Because that's just who we are. That's how we roll. And that's how I choose people. Like in my hiring process, I'm asking, what do you do for your inner work? What are your mindfulness practices? I'm mining for those values that we hold dear. Absolutely. And those things that sometimes don't become apparent on a resume. Absolutely. I need to know that you have a love for people. Absolutely. You have a belief in people. Absolutely. You believe they can make a shift and change. And I need to also see that you have that power to really, get trust and gain trust very, very.
Absolutely. Absolutely love it. So how can people reach you?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram at IndigoWomen Community, soon to be Indigo Unbound. You can also find me at Lead for Liberation, my other company that I love. We work with workplaces and we help them create containers within their workplaces where people work hard, thrive, and actually have a great time while doing it as well.
Shayna, you're amazing like you always are.
Thank you.
This has been Expediting Change. What I do want to say, y'all know, I talk about getting to the bag, financial education, and financial wellness all the time. But if you are not emotionally regulated, if you are not spiritually and mentally well, you can't manage $100. So how you gonna manage $100 million? It starts with your inner peace. And look, I'm not saying this to anybody watching this to make you feel any type of way. I'm talking about myself. I'm talking about my own growth. I'm talking about being able to look at the man I am today versus the man who I was before. And that's not a shot fired by any stretch of the imagination, because I've forgiven the things that I've done in the past. And now God blesses me as I move on the path to be my higher and highest conscious self. So the key to it is emotional regulation and what your spirituality is. Don't let anybody tell you who you should believe is your God. You have your connection with your God to make sure that you have your own inner peace, and everything else will fall into place. And not only can I co-sign on that, my literal coach for the last 2.5 years, I think now, is sitting next to me to verify that. So listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. This has been Expediting Change.
Thank you.